previous to that, he was a China researcher for the New Yorker magazine, China Bureau, doing research on cleantech, China's cleantech projects. So, without further ado,
thank you so much for coming to the first Chinese New Year dinner hosted by Israel Asia Center. My name is Howie Wen. I'm a current Israel Asia Center's fellow, Leaders Fellow, and I will be talking here non-stop for 15 minutes, so just bear with me. Well, I first heard about this organization last summer before leaving US for Yale's Macmillan International Center in Tel Aviv. And ever since I've been on a journey that have changed my life, I think. I want to first take this opportunity to thank Israel Asia Center's Rebecca Zeffert, who is in Jerusalem right now, and Jin Wang for such dedication to fostering Israel and China's relation. Well, the thing is, I used to think I'm the cool kid because I'm the person who is in Israel-Asia-US relation. And then there is Israel-Asia Center. I was just like, oh, this must be how it feels like to be an X-Men or be going to Hogwarts. But back to the topic. So what's the connection between Israel and China in a sense? While in different places people react to that idea very differently. And I believe everybody sitting here tonight has their own answer to that question. What is the connection? Well, in Israel, people just ask me that, you know, why are you here? Please go. Why are you here? Like, are you Jewish? And in New York, people say, oh yeah, that's interesting. But what's the deal with all those Jewish-Chinese marriage over here? While in China, people are just much simpler answer, just saying, where is Israel? Is that in Egypt or somewhere like that? But actually, Israel or the Jewish population's connection with Chinese has traced back over 1,000 years ago when 1,000 years ago, during the 12th century, a group of Jews migrated from Middle East to Kaifeng when it was the ancient capital of China and lived there for over 700 years. And they were not discovered by the West until the 16th century. And in the modern era, Israel remembers how in the darkest era of Jewish plight, when the world closed its door during the Second World War, China became a haven for thousands of Jewish population. During the Second World War, the Shanghai ghetto hosted over 20,000 Jews escaping from Europe. While in fact that China, without a tradition or heritage in Islamic or Christian ideology, is one of the few places where Jews were never persecuted. But however, China and Israel's relation during the past 60 years, as I see it, is like an Asian reality TV. With China, Israel, US play different part, and also there's Arab countries and Iran. Actually, after the establishment of the communist China during the 1949, Israel is the first country in Middle East that recognized People's Republic of China, and one of the first in the world to recognize that country. But of course, due to China's relation with Middle East and the US and the Soviet Union, Chinese government refused to acknowledge Israel. And but very ironically, the two sides secretly start building a military tie during the 1980s, exchanging visits and industrialists and academians during that time. A funny fact is that during the 1967 Six-Day War, because Israel found themselves with such a huge pile of Soviet weaponry, and China is using the same kind of weaponry, so they started talking about the secret ties and how they can retrofit and export those things to China. During the actually, they retrofitted a huge amount of tanks and exported them to Chinese government. During the 1984, the Chinese government's national parade on the Tiananmen Square, they used most of their tanks actually, the Six-Day War tank captured by Israelis. So if you say Asians care about their face, so Israeli government pretty much did facelifting for Chinese government for past 30 years. It was not until 1992 that there is normal diplomatic relations established between China and Israel. And we are here to celebrate the 20th anniversary. And after the establishment of this diplomatic tie, the Israelis taught Chinese about advanced irrigation technology, agriculture, in hope to develop a modern agriculture industry in China. this is very important to China, of course, because the plight and the landing Chinese irrigation system is very similar to the Israel's in some sense. And the present Chinese attitude towards Jews is that, especially Israeli, they are smart, they are powerful and shrewd in business. And one thing the Chinese are particularly fascinated by the fact is that the Jewish civilization itself, after being exiled for 2,000 years, it can still maintain the integrity and I think that's part of the reason because the both culture between Israeli Jewish culture and the Chinese share this shared value of family, a community and a career, and has history of immigration and personal struggle in a sense. Of course, such shared value can create a foundation for the possibility of intimate collaboration between the two countries in a global community. We'll talk about partnership. When people ask me, when I'm in Yale in New York, people just always ask me why there's so many Chinese Jewish marriage, and how many we have here tonight? 2, 3. And how somebody, I recently heard that how somebody's Chinese classmate just registered on J-Day to find husband. I'm just so tired of answering that question because that's very stereotypical. I don't know. I guess they just all spend their time in the library back in the days and be obsessed with becoming doctors and PhDs. I live with my landlord when I'm in Tel Aviv, and he's a Polish grandma who's 70 years old. And she's just like my grandma. She's obsessed with force-feeding me food every day. And she's just talking about every day how much she wants more grandchildren. Well, not from me yet. But like, there are another two phenomena I think that fascinates me. I never quite figure out. I would welcome any answers to that. How there are so many Jewish families in Chinese restaurants during the Christmas, and when people tell me that's a tradition, from where? Israel? And all those middle-aged Jewish housewives play mahjong during their weekends. But actually, do you know the first company that introduced mahjong to U.S. Jewish community is Abercrombie and Fitch? Well, they don't really look anything Chinese or Jewish these days. But talk about technology and the trade exchange between China and Israel. I think Israel, of course, with a population of only 8 million, there is no domestic market to speak of itself. And China, on the other hand, is not only the world's most populous country, but also has the fastest growing middle-class population. 20 years ago, that's part of the question, the bilateral trade was only $16 million. Right now, it's almost, like by this year, it will be more than $8 billion, which is 130 times larger. We have also witnessed the strengthening of the mutual connection. One case I always mention, which is fascinating to me, is that in the city of Chengdu, where my family was long time ago originally from, in May 16, 2008, after the devastating earthquake, the Israeli embassy and diplomats were the first group of people made a public donation to that city. And right now, the Israeli ambassador Amos Nadei is an honorary citizen of the city of Chengdu. And how that translates into a civil sentiment is that one Israeli business people talking about what's his experience like. He had a presentation and a public conference in Chengdu, and people would just come here without any public interest or business attention, just to pay tribute to Israel as a country. And the two facts I would like to highlight I think in future will directly impact Israel and China's relation. I think the first is China's very fast-growing population of Christians, especially the evangelical Christians. And the second is China's intention of moving its oil supply from Iran to Saudi Arabia. And the Fujinha was just in Saudi Arabia a couple of days ago on this topic, that is, of course, under the influence and guidance of heavy lobbyists from the Israel side. But beyond that, I think what has been interesting to me is the synergy those two countries enjoy in cleantech collaboration. Israel, with very limited natural resource, there's nothing really to rely on besides the creativity and the brain of itself. And Israel is innovation positioning itself, I think, as a natural partner for China. And at the same time, China, only less than 10% of China's land is arable. and it's one of the world's most polluted areas. I think to help people understand how polluted Beijing these days are, I don't know if you guys know this, but like the U.S. Embassy in Beijing start tweeting about the air quality in China, indicating the air quality every day is if it's good, bad, or hazardous. And in 2010, one day it just says on the official Twitter, it says it's crazy bad. No, they quickly take that off and say it's beyond index. But what does that mean? It means the air quality and the pollutant is so the density is beyond the recognition of the equipment. And what does that mean? It means the particulate matter in the air is 500. The index past 500. That is 20 times more than the World Health Organization's guidelines. So like the environment issue right now is definitely on the Chinese government's agenda, and they see that as destabilizing the stability of that nation in a sense. Last year, to tackle with that issue, Chinese government invested $50 billion in clean tech related assets and technologies, and that is the largest amount in the world. However, I think there is a lack of really innovative and game-changing technology itself, and there is always shadow of Chinese chip manufacturing. And when I was working with the Israel Asia Center during my job in Israel Cleantech Ventures in Tel Aviv, I'm really be able to see that with the world's highest concentration of PhDs, technicians, and academians, Israel is truly an innovation powerhouse, I believe. I think a typical Israeli clean technology itself is very low cost and extremely efficient. And it doesn't. One of the most important things that it takes very minimum automation of your existing infrastructure, which is, I think, perfect for both manufacturing and application in China. Well, during my years in journalism back in China, I realized there's no single nation can dominate the clean energy economy, and nobody has yet mastered both the innovation and low-cost manufacturing. And combining China's manufacturing power, I believe, and Israel's fast innovation, there would really translate the engineering know-how into a force that is able to reshape the global landscape in clean technology. China was the third largest export destination for Israel for the past 3 quarters in 2011, and this year it will become the second largest. But the problem is that 75% of the trade is from Chinese export, and only 25% is from Israeli export. And of the 25%, 40% is electronic machinery, and a large portion, from 15 to 20%, is gems and diamonds. I think one of the key issues contribute to this barrier of more balanced and efficient technology exchange is really a lack of mutual understanding and exposure. I think I've seen that hinder numerous business transactions and exchanges during the past couple of years. I think fixing that takes strategy, time, and patience. And unfortunately, that's not something naturally embedded in the modern Israeli business mentality, in the sense, the patience especially. But that is vital for you to penetrate the Chinese bureaucratic and business sphere. For Israelis, I think China is still a very remote, populous, rich image with a problematic legal and IP issue. And furthermore, I see the Israeli arrogance sometimes and short-term planning as a very serious barrier to further this partnership. And for Chinese, Israel, a lot of times to them it's just a war zone. But their love affair with this Jewish civilization, I think, lies also mainly within the business bubble. And sometimes, although it's mostly positive, is a caricature of a Jewish stereotype. Well, as an investigative reporter, I did some serious investigation on what Chinese writes about Israelis or Jews. So on the Amazon China, there are 50 books about, in the business category, it has the word Jewish in it. Some of the titles are, just to give you a sense, 101 Secrets in Jews' Secret Notebook. And the Jews scroll for success. The best one is what the Talmud tells us, how to put the words of wealth into your pocket. I mean, if I don't find a job, if I don't find a job after graduating from Yale, I'm just write what Confucius tells us, how to become the world's most populous country. I think that was so very well in Israel. Well, joke aside, I think the point is that it is vital to help the Chinese realize Israeli technology is a potent and effective solution for its problem. And it's pleasant to see that, like Startup Nation, that book just recently become the #1 book in the world economy in Amazon China. And luckily there's Israel Asia Center stepping into the chute, is making very quick and drastic progress in educating society in both sides. I'm going to stop here. I believe people are getting very irritated when I'm non-stop talking. I recently wrote an op-ed as your booklet in Jerusalem Post calling Israelis to really dig deeper into the Chinese inland and calling them to bring the green menorah over to the other side of the Great Wall. But I guess here we are in New York, and with its unique geopolitical situation as the world's media, business, and financial center, and also has one of the largest population of Chinese and Jewish diaspora. What we should really think about, I believe, is what we can do better to both influence both the Israeli and the China side, and to really highlight the possibility of collaboration. And to help the Chinese realize that Israel is a catalyst that is able to spark drastic changes in the world global cleantech evolution with China's partnership. Because I believe that combination, the Israel and the China side, can create something very innovative, fresh, and beautiful, like the kosher Chinese food. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, everyone. We're here until 9, but I just want to give a couple of closing remarks. Thank you again to AJC ACCESS New York for co-hosting this event. Thank you for all of of you for coming and supporting Israel Asia Center. My IAC business card is in the red envelope, so if you'd like to learn more, if you'd like to get involved, please contact me. So we have about 30 minutes. Help yourself with more wine, and if anyone is interested in an after party after 9, I think the easiest place is just to go to the new Gansevoort Park on 29th. So if you're still around at 9, we will go out and celebrate further. Thank you so much. The winner of the trivia is, drum roll, Ellie. 5 out of 5. So I have a little prize for you.
It was a collaborative effort.
Well, you're the only person that